All right, welcome to another edition of The Right Call. I'm with my normal co-host, Cole Altman, but we've got another co-host today, the one and only Brady Chapman. Brady, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
All right, so before we get into this podcast is going to be called This is Personal. We're going to talk about the Celtics, but before we do, for those of you who are regular listeners to our podcast, the last podcast Cole and I did, we did a special in memoriam edition to recognize the Lakers' complete failure this season and their early death. But I was thinking, Cole, and Brady, I was thinking about, as I was preparing this today, I was thinking about the city of Los Angeles as a whole. And I was thinking about states that are so inept sports-wise that they need to have multiple sports teams to have a chance to be competitive. So the Lakers don't make the playoffs. The Clippers don't make the playoffs. Thank God for Golden State and Northern California, because the whole state of California would be a disaster. The Sacramento Kings don't make the play. How many more teams does California have to need to make the playoffs? Really?
I mean, you see so many bad teams in California. It doesn't matter where. I mean, you go to San Diego, you see the Padres. The Padres were good at the beginning of last season. They sucked.
I can't even remember the last time the Padres made the playoffs.
I can't even remember. Besides the few World Series they won with Bumgarner, Giants have sucked the past few years. Northern from San Francisco all the way down to San Diego, you have failure and losses and pain.
Now, Brady, you want to know what's even worse than California?
Let me hear it.
Listen to this. Let's go to New York. Football. Giants, Jets, suck, don't make the playoffs.
Awful.
Basketball. Knicks, no good, can't make the playoffs. Thank God for Brooklyn. I mean, New York was so desperate for a team to make this playoffs, they had to convince the Nets to move from New Jersey to Brooklyn just so they could say they had a New York team. And then, what about hockey? The Islanders are a mess. The Sabres are a mess. Thank God for the Rangers. At least they have the Rangers. And then, what am I forgetting here? We've got, and baseball, the Mets and Yankees continue to be awful. Garrett Cole can't pitch without sticky, spider tack.
Yep.
So, God, I'm feeling really grateful to be a Bostonian this morning. I don't know about you guys, but looking at the disaster in New York, the disaster in L.A., we talked in the car about Detroit. Brady, tell everybody about Detroit.
So there's the Tigers, where they're completely awful. The Lions, completely irrelevant from the Super Bowl. What's next?
Red Wings.
Red Wing. I don't follow hockey, but
Yeah, but they're not. They're awful.
They suck.
And then basketball, Pistons, bottom of the division.
I mean, we're lucky, guys. Like,
We are.
all kidding aside, like ragging on these other cities, we are lucky. We're getting ready. Celtics have a legitimate chance to go to the finals and possibly win. Bruins, if they can get healthy, have a chance to make some noise in the playoffs. The Red Sox I'd rather not talk about right now. And the Patriots, who the heck knows, but at least they have a good quarterback for the future.
The Red Sox, if they can get some pitching before the trade deadline, are World Series caliber. Their offense is World Series caliber.
You know what I learned a long time ago about baseball, and especially the major leagues? When you're getting ready and early in the season, and you start every sentence is, well, if James Paxton gets healthy, and if Chris Sale gets healthy, and if Bogart's contract situation doesn't affect him, and if Matt Barnes doesn't implode in front of us on the mound, like there's so many ifs with the Red Sox, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to be confident to have like a good team. If your fans are wondering like
What
if
if?
our pitching is going to be good, like what if Chris Sale doesn't come back this year? What if our bullpen screws up? Then we're not going to have like a good season. We're not going to be able to have a good run in the playoffs.
All right, now before we go to the Celtics, I do have one other NBA question to ask you guys, all seriousness. So the Minnesota Timberwolves just really made a remarkable comeback this season. They were horrible in the first half of the season, got in the playoffs. Patrick Beverley acted like he won the NBA Finals when he knocked off the Clippers. But all kidding aside, guys, the Timberwolves as a team got a lot of grief for how much they celebrated making the playoffs. And that's why I led with all these other cities. Is it so bad? Like, if you're a franchise like the Timberwolves that hasn't had a lot of success, is there anything wrong with being happy that you finally made the playoffs?
No, you should celebrate for that. I mean, your fans, they want to have a chance at, going to the finals. So I think that after many years of missing the playoffs, they should celebrate about that.
Right, Cole?
I mean, I agree to a point. I mean, I think that Patrick Beverley definitely crossed the line. I mean, he was kind of taunting the Clippers.
You mean by jumping on the table and waving his fist? Do you
And
think
he
that
was
crossed the line?
He was like this
Yeah,
on the table. Like,
yeah.
dude, like you made the playoffs. Like, you don't see a lot of other stars. Like, I can guarantee the Grizzlies have sucked the last few years, and I can guarantee when John Morant made the playoffs, he wasn't.
That's a
he wasn't
great
on the table.
analogy, actually.
Who else? honestly,
Well, even like New Orleans.
even
I
New Orleans,
mean, even New Orleans.
and even the Suns, who even were good last year, you didn't see Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, or Chris Paul on the table. So, I think there may have been some bad blood when Patrick Beverley left LA, for him to want to do that level of celebration.
All right, so let's talk about the Celtics-Brooklyn series. Guys, we know in the Eastern Conference, especially since Atlanta beat Cleveland last night, I think Miami's going to roll over Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't match up well with Miami. Plus, Capella got hurt. Who knows how healthy he'll be.
He hyperextended his right knee, so hopefully he'll be back for that series.
Okay.
I'd say he'll be out for like a game or two. Then.
So here's my question, guys. I say it's personal because Kyrie snubbed Boston when he was in Boston. Durant had a chance to come here as a free agent. He spurned the Celtics, went to Brooklyn. So I want to go over what your keys are to this series. And so I want to go, let's each take a turn. So Brady is the guest. What's your biggest key to this series? Or what's one of your biggest keys, I should say, to this series?
I said to get rebounds over guys like Drummond and Claxton and Aldridge because we don't have Robert Williams for, I don't know, maybe it's the first couple of games. Maybe
We don't know, at least.
But I don't think Daniel Tice he's not going to be able to get as many boards as we think he will because he's not that tough, I guess.
Yeah, Brady, I think you're spot on. And Claxton's kind of sneaky good. Like, you don't really take him seriously, but he gets himself in position to get rebounds. He can block shots. Drummond is just a rebound eater. Like, he's just constantly. And Tice, I think, Brady, you said it yesterday, Tice just gets pushed around. And he's just not a defensive presence. So, Cole, for you, when you look at those matchups until Robert Williams comes back, is it, Horford maybe needs to be a little aggressive inside and get more rebounds? What's the answer? Because Claxton and Drummond are tough, at least rebound-wise.
Well, Kevin Durant's a really, really good defensive player, so they're going to really need to, and he's going to be on Tatum's, so you're going to really need to find some other people who are willing to step up in that spot. Jaylen Brown can't be that guy because Jaylen Brown's already the number 2. It has to be Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford. It has to be someone who can provide a hefty amount of scoring.
You want Peyton Pritchard to block out Andre Drummond?
Well,
Pritchard actually is a fairly good rebounder for his size, ironically. He does get some.
He's a tough guy.
He is tough, but I don't think he's blocking out Andre Drummond.
I mean, Peyton Pritchard reminds me of Brady when we were younger because
Really?
Brady was a really little kid. And Brady would kind of scurry and shuffle around under people, and he would just fight for the rebound. He gets his nose dirty, and I think that's what Peyton Pritchard's going to need to do this series.
See, I see Brady's current game more like Derek White.
Bad shooter?
Wow. Brady, don't take that.
Yeah, I'm a good shooter.
No, don't take that.
Well, if he's comparing, hey, if he's comparing,
because you're saying because Derek White's a bad shooter.
Yes, exactly.
Although Derek White's been better lately, I have to say he's
Yes.
actually been better. Okay, so rebounding, Brady, absolutely is a factor, and I got to say, the one point I want to say is with Jayson Tatum, I feel like Jayson Tatum is most impactful when he's rebounding. And if you see Jayson Tatum when he has like 25 points and 9 rebounds or 11 rebounds, that's when the Celtics rarely lose. So I think it's actually Tatum that has to really – the problem with Tatum is if he's guarding Durant, like I don't know who's going to guard Durant, and Tatum's going to have his hands full as it is guarding Durant. So that's a lot to ask to rebound, to guard Durant, to be your team's best scorer. I mean, that's a lot.
And that's what worries me about the Celtics after this series because I think the Celtics – do we know? I'm not sure, but do we know who the Celtics would play? Is it?
Yeah,
is it
it's the winner of Milwaukee, Chicago.
So
it's Milwaukee.
if they play, they're going to be really tired when they play Milwaukee if they get through the series. So
they're young, honestly, except for Horford, they're young.
I guess
Tatum and Brown are what 25 and 24, 25 and 26. Come on.
I guess, but like that's tough. Like guarding, especially if this game goes into 7, which it likely will. Having Durant on your hands for 7 whole games, that's probably that's 210 minutes of basketball that they're probably going to be on the floor together. Like that's ridiculous. That's tough to deal with, and they're going to be very tired.
So, Cole, you were speaking yesterday about the significance of this series and the Celtics' maturity. So talk about, why you think this is so important for this year and for their future.
Well, I think this has all sorts of. Me and Brady were talking about this in school. I think this has all sorts of implications on the next.
You guys are talking sports in school?
Oh, we're always talking.
You should be paying attention in class.
Well, sports is greater than school.
Whenever we have
Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that.
whenever we have notes, we take the notes, but then if there's a little free time or the teacher has
Okay, fair enough. All right, keep going.
So, next 5-10 years, this has a lot of impact on if Smart stays, if Brown stays, what the contracts look like the next few years, Tatum's point of view on the Celtics. So I think that this has a lot to do because this is the best year the Celtics have really had since 2008. And honestly, if the Celtics, I feel like it's finals or bust for them this year.
Even if Robert Williams doesn't return in the first round?
If Robert Williams is out the whole first round and they lose first round, then I think we can be a little more lenient. But if he comes back like 2 or 3 games in the season or into the series and they still lose, I don't know. I think it's still finals or bust.
Well, Brady, I think the point Cole just made, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this, is, I think Jaylen Brown has really improved over the last month or two. He's playing probably his best since he's been a Celtic. And is this going to determine if the Celtics make an early exit in the playoffs? Is Jaylen Brown possibly going to be traded in the offseason? Is Jaylen Brown's performance even more important going to be a predictor of where he is in the future of the Celtics?
Well, I feel like if Jaylen Brown, if he does really well this series, he's staying. But if he needs to prove that he is a big piece in this team. If he doesn't do good, then I think that he's going to get traded, and there's going to be like a lot of angry Celtics fans.
Well, and I think
including me and you.
I think to me, here's what it comes down to. The Celtics have been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times previously with Tatum and Brown. These guys, this is their opportunity to grow and mature and take that big step forward everybody's been waiting for them to take. And I'll tell you my biggest key to the series, it's the maturity of Tatum and Brown. And every time Tatum complains to the officials, and not only does he complain to the officials, he shows up the officials, waving his arms in the air and going like this and doing all this stuff. And if Tatum can't get distracted, the biggest thing in this series is there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be a lot of momentum changes. But both teams, Durant and Kyrie, are assassins. Like, they're assassins. Like, I hate them both, but they're assassins. I respect how damn good they are. They cannot get distracted by the officials. And I have to say that there's nothing that annoys me more besides Tatum showing up the officials than Grant Williams showing up the officials. Because Grant Williams is horrible. I can't stand him, and I don't want him talking to the officials, period.
Grant Williams is not that bad. You underrate Grant Williams.
He can hit some threes, but that's about it.
Honestly,
he can't even do that anymore, Brady. He's been horrible lately.
He's a good defender. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I would agree. I do agree. I underappreciate his defensive skills.
He has such good technique. Like, if you watch him on the floor, like...
What are you... Jeff Van Gundy? What do you mean he has such good technique?
He has such great technique. He has his hands out. He has his chest out. He plays really tough and effortful defense.
How come we can't start improving your technique?
Hey, this is a podcast about the Celtics, not about
me.
You're
recognizing other people's technique. How about you boxing out and using your bum in the games?
How about you play against me?
Whoa.
Wow.
I'll be the ref.
He just threw it down, Brady. He just threw down
1v1. 1v1.
I don't want to hurt you, though. All right, anyway. So, but Brady, as far as like the maturity and like staying focused without the officiating, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like, especially in Brooklyn, the fans are going to be
that's a good
insane.
point on the road.
So you have to be focused on scoring points. You have to be focused on guarding Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, because obviously I don't think anybody else is going to hurt you as much. But you just have to be focused on your game plan. You can't be focused on, maybe there's a bad call. Maybe you got slapped on the wrist. You just have to keep your mind, set.
Well, mindset. We love that, Brady. Mindset go. All right, Cole. So Cole, I want to shift gears for a minute. I want to talk about another big key I see for the series, which is defensive rotation. And what I mean by that is the Celtics are going to be double-teaming Durant and Irving frequently in the series, which means that guys like Seth Curry and Bruce Brown and those kind of players are going to get open looks on the outside. And how quickly those guys rotate over when Durant and Irving spot the open man, I think it's going to be huge, because if we see Daniel Tice cannot rotate any slower. I don't think it's humanly possible for him to react any slower.
You just despise any player on the Celtics that isn't in the starting lineup.
No, Daniel Tice is in the starting. No, I love Horford.
Okay.
Yeah, Daniel Tice is technically in the starting lineup.
Well, he is some games. Okay, let me list off some players.
I like Peyton Pritchard.
Love Peyton
cap,
Pritchard.
such cap for the amount of time.
Why are we bringing up the Washington Capitals? All right, go ahead.
That was a bad joke.
That was a dead joke. Okay, go ahead.
Honestly, like, there's so many players on the Celtics that you just early judge, and I think it's kind of it's like Alex Verdugo with the Red Sox.
Oh God,
he's the sexiest man alive
Punch
by
and Judy,
far.
biggest Punch and Judy left. Do you guys know the term Punch and Judy? Are either of you familiar with that?
No.
Punch and
We were born
Judy is
before 1971.
players that play at a power position that can't hit for power. That's a Punch and Judy hitter. In a third baseman, left fielder.
Jackie Bradley Jr.
Okay, I can't even. Don't even bring up the Red Sox outfield because I'm going to get a headache listening to the Red Sox.
Doogie, he hit
All
a
right,
home run yesterday.
But wait, Cole. I want to go back to what you said. Daniel Tice, to me, I am openly not a fan of his, but I will say the last 6 weeks, he's been playing really good basketball for the Celtics. I'm just talking about his defensive rotation, and I just feel like he gets beaten on the pick and roll. He doesn't rotate defensively. And I think without Robert Williams, the Celtics are a borderline average defensive team. Maybe slightly above, but borderline average. So I think Tice is a key player on defense. I think he's going to have to be better.
Well, you can turn from a average defensive team to a good defensive team with high levels of effort. What do you think, Brady?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you have high effort, you're going to be a lot better defensively. But
What are you, Captain Obvious over there?
Whoa there.
Okay, go ahead, Brady.
like,
Captain Dad joke.
I think Daniel Tice, he is slow, so I think the closing out part.
Yeah, right,
is
right,
gonna
exactly.
be horrible. But if we have guys like Robert Williams, I think he's a lot quicker. He's a lot lengthier, so you're going to get the what was it, like 2.1 blocks per game or something like that.
Yeah, he was rolling.
But Daniel Tice, he is just an average bench player, and I don't really see him being that good defensive player that we need in the series.
Yeah, and I think, the other key for Brooklyn is Bruce Brown. I mean, Bruce Brown almost hit a triple-double in that game against Cleveland the other night. He is playing unbelievable for Brooklyn. I mean,
He's really sneaky good.
Yeah, it's a sneaky player.
He's almost like, he's like their version of Marcus Smart, although he's not as good as Marcus Smart. But
no one's as good as Marcus Smart.
No, but he's like a step down. But he is kind of like I remember when Brooklyn played the Celtics. I think it was in March. Bruce Brown would be guarding Tatum and Brown. Like, this guy's little, but he, like Marcus Smart, guards the bigger players too. So I think that Bruce Brown, he's going to be. If I was to say what's the key for Brooklyn, I honestly might say Bruce Brown, because the Celtics, you would think, are going to try to make somebody else beat you. And if the Bruce Browns, the Seth Currys, the Goran Dragic, those guys get hot, I mean, that's going to be trouble.
I mean, Brady, I know we both agree on this. Like, Marcus Smart is such like a hard to find player, and he's the kind of guy that he's not as good as Tatum, he's not as good as Brown, but he talent wise, but he's the kind of guy that he can absolutely transform your whole team.
He's not afraid to get dirty on the court.
Of course,
he'll take the fouls for the team when it's needed, and he'll get.
Brady, is Cole afraid to get dirty on the court?
No.
Wow, what a good
There
compliment.
you go.
Oh.
Okay, only because he gets 4 fouls a game.
That's great.
I was so honored for 10
right, he was
seconds.
just starting out good, and then
He doesn't slide the feet.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
I don't. Hey, that's not true, because most of my fouls are shooting fouls and not reaching fouls.
Okay, well, that makes it better. Okay, so anyways, all right, last thought. So guys, want to end this edition of The Right Call with predictions. So Brady, let's start with you. Who's going to win the series? How many games?
I actually have the Celtics in 7. I have to stay strong with Boston, but it's going to be a good series. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and I think just the big key is just stopping Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
Okay.
I have the season 6, and I think the biggest key is Marcus Smart's really going to have to shut down Kyrie, and Smart's going to have to be knocked down from three-point land.
I feel like it's going to go to 7 games. I feel like if Bob comes back relatively early in the series, they win. If they don't, I'm really not sure who's going to win. I think it's going to be an unbelievable 7 games of basketball, in my opinion. I also feel like Kyrie Irving, I'm encouraging Celtics fans, not only do I want you to boo him every time he touches the ball, I want you to boo him when he's walking onto the court. I want you to see him in the streets of Boston. I want you to boo him. I mean, because I think it gets in his head. People talk about it motivates him to play harder. Kyrie's motivated. Kyrie's competitive and wants to win. But I think last time he played in March, he had a horrible game.
He had 14 points. And
but he was shooting was terrible.
Yeah.
So let's get inside his head. Let's bother the heck out of him. But, all right, well, Brady, great having you on The Right Call.
Thank you.
All right, for Brady Chapman, Cole Altman, and Mark Altman, we'll see you next time on The Right Call.